Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. So welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit Season 3. This is episode 9 with Heidi Sue. Heidi Sue was introduced to me from two of the other speakers this season, Care and Kate. We just had Care earlier today, and we're going to start off tomorrow with Kate. So they introduced me to Heidi Sue. Again, as oftentimes is the case, I was just recently introduced. We have no idea what we're going to be covering today. At least I don't. She might have an idea of what she wants to say. We do have a topic that we selected, or she selected, or her team selected more accurately. But where we go is always responsive in the moment. And so we'll see where we end up. And so Heidi Sue, let me give you the space to introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. And as you guys know, my name is Heidi Sue, but I'd love to give a special shout out to Margot Fraser. And you may recognize her name. Actually, Margot was the one who said, you need to check Daniel out. Okay, so here we are, Daniel. And I just want to say thank you for providing this platform. And thank you for everyone being here. And so I love that this is a free flow. There is a content, there is a structure, but it's not rigid, it's free flow. Just like many things we do in life, sometimes when we want to control the moment and it doesn't go the way we think it should go, how many of us become a little bit unglued by that? But it could be that there is a message or a gift in that letting go that control, trusting what's coming through, and that, see what happens as you continue down that little divergent. So for those of you who don't know me or my work, I've had people call me a heart whisperer. And so I have the ability to tune in, always with your permission, but I can tune in and read the energies of your heart space. And so I actually work with a team of, I call them the Heart Maverick, the team of healers. And so with my training and with my background, I have a mixture of working in a hospital setting in the human life. And then I also recognized I was having these moments where I was seeing things and experiencing things. And as we mentioned in one of the calls earlier today, am I going crazy? What is this? And then learning it, my intuition started to develop and kick into higher gear the more I did the work, exercise my intuition muscle, if you will. And that thing started coming through. And so with guidance and a mentor, I was able to open up multiple channels, multiple clairs, and then found out what my special gift is, which at the time I received it, I did not want it. It was a challenge for me. But now looking back, all those life experiences and my chronic wounds that I still have as a human being, actually turning around and use them as healing, because with others that might be going through the same feeling of not feeling worthy, or what is my purpose, or why am I even here, or why doesn't anyone love me? I get it, and I can move forward with the team to help you see the light within, that beautiful light within yourself.
So Heidi Sue, let me just kind of jump in because my computer just froze.
Okay.
And the last thing I heard was, well, let's just start over with you not being happy with your gifts and how they evolved. And if you can just kind of repeat from there, I apologize.
Sure. No, that's okay. And in fact, I didn't say what my special gift was, but it does help with people who may not feel worthy, or who may not feel loved, or appreciated or always overlooked. So my special gift has to do with reconnecting people to the power of unconditional love, true divine unconditional love. And with that, I help people see, feel, and recognize that you're lovable just as you are. It doesn't matter what experience you've had in life. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter where you are. I see you here in this moment, and you are a beautiful, brilliant being here, and everything has its purpose and its perfection. So
That's beautiful.
yeah. So with the team that I work with, I ask them, okay, so the team I'm talking about is when I go into a certain state, and for those of you who are familiar with channeling will know what I mean by a certain state. And I ask my team, and they're the heart mavericks. And interestingly enough, their whole purpose is to help with human recognizing love in human form, which has multiple layers. And so I asked them, okay, so I'm being invited to do this summit. What would you like today's topic to be? What would you like your voice, your message to be heard today? And they're the ones that came up with connecting with your kindred spirit within. And so I was thinking right away, okay, what did that mean? And kindred means different things to different people. And so basically, what I would love to do with you today is I will share an experience that I had as a young girl. And then from there, we will go into a process where we will go as a group together so that each one of us will connect within our kindred spirit. And then after, in that moment, in that process, I will open it up where if you want to interact, you can raise your hand. And the question is, what does your kindred spirit want to know about you? And so I will clarify that. If that's a little bit of confusion, it'll make better sense as we go through the process. And then we'll close it up. I will say the last time I've done this, I've had people had tears flowing. Please let the tears flow. You don't have to show your camera, but sometimes when we bring in light, the human body will react in a biofluid way, whether it's, the nose is running, the the eyes are watering, or we might feel the need to cough or stretch. Honor those, because you need to move your physical body in that moment in order to allow the light to come through and remove the densities. So I'm hoping no one sniffles. Please let it all blow out. But I think you'll be in for a treat. And so just like many of us, we have certain life experiences. And when we're in that moment, we might feel an essence come over us. And this essence I'm going to talk about is this feeling that I had. I was 14 and I had gotten a brand new bicycle, and it was one of those big bicycles with super tall wheels that when I sat on the seat, my feet wouldn't touch the ground, and had all these gears and handlebars, and just learning to balance on a two-wheeler, just kind of interesting going through life, trying to just learn new things as a young child. And as I got more comfortable with riding this bicycle, I found that as an introvert, I loved going for long rides. I like being alone. I like being out in nature. And pretty soon the area I was riding in was becoming too small. I wanted to go further. I wanted to explore more areas. And my parents do not know this. And so I wanted to ride to this one area where I connected to a particular path, but I had to go on a very busy, high traffic, high speed road for about 200 yards. And as a child, 200 yards seemed so far. It's really far. And I was so fearful because the cars were driving super fast. And where I grew up, we were taught to ride the bicycle going against traffic so that they can see you and you can see them, whatever the theory was at the time. And it just so happened I didn't have to cross the road, but I just wanted to go down the shoulder and then get off the road and then be on that beautiful path that I knew was going to be brilliant if I could get there. And so here I am riding my bicycle, my heart starts to race, and here I'm at this pivotal moment. Do I defy my parents' wishes? Do I do this? And as a child, I didn't think that, oh, I could die doing this. You know, it was just like a defiant, like, do I dare do this? Just an adventure. It's like stepping on the edge of the cliff. Do I keep going? What do I do? And I all of a sudden had this feeling come over me. And it was just the most amazing feeling. This feeling that came over me and surrounded me. And I just felt this soft tingling, like I'm held, like I'm okay. You're okay. And this feeling just came around me. And if I had to put a visual description, I will use the description of giant white winged, feathered wings that just held me and that nothing could harm me. That was the feeling that came through. I had never experienced that before. And for a long time afterwards, I didn't feel it again, but it was like this level of confidence, and I'm held. It's okay. This is the right time. Proceed. And so I just started riding my bicycle down the path, heart racing, going as fast as I can. Cars is whizzing by, but thank goodness, you know, they were giving me a little bit of space, and going around, and got off the bike path, and then got off the main road and was on the actual bike path where I could continue the rest of my ride. And it was like this exhilarating feeling, like, wow, I did it. But there was something about, no, I didn't do it. It was more like we did it, you know, it's like, wow. And I just felt on top of the world with riding my bicycle. And like I said, that was 14. I was 14 years of age. Years went on, and I tried to bring back that feeling again. How do I feel that again? What do I do? You know, why won't I feel that? And then having challenging moments in life where, okay, I'm in danger. That feeling never came back. It's like, okay, what is it? So then that when I was introduced, so I had a few very beloved loved ones who had passed on. They had passed away, and I was in grief, a very thick grief fog. And then soon after a while, I kept seeing these numbers. It's like these same series of numbers kept appearing. And it was like a wake up sign, you know, it's like some of those numbers were a strange coincidence that I realized, okay, there's something to this story. And that's when I opened up to, okay, the angels. There's that book, Angel Numbers 101, is how I was introduced to it. And when I saw the number that it represented, what I was seeing, that's when I realized there's this whole other world out there. They're here to support us, to support all of us. And so I was then introduced to my intuitive teacher through the Academy for the Soul. And that's when I took the formal program, the formal classes, and it's 3 levels. And that's where I started to open up all my clairs, and then also receive my special gift, and now really communicate with the heart mavericks, as I call them. They came through within the last year. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to venture a guess here, and I'm thinking some of you may have already experienced that feeling of being held and warm in the embrace of this high level vibrational essence. And then maybe some of you have not. Or maybe some of you are questioning, have I? What if you've been experiencing it all along and you didn't know that's what it was? So I would like to take this moment to go through a process to connect you with your own kindred spirit. Okay, so if you are so inclined to join me in this moment, if it's safe to do so, if you're driving, I don't do this now. I would actually recommend you come back and listen to the replay. But if you're in a safe place to just close your eyes and just be in this here and now moment, feel free to follow along with me in this moment. So go ahead and close your eyes, closing your eyes. And we want to deliberately to start to slow our breathing down with deliberate inhale and deliberate exhales. And in the process of the really deep intentional breathing, you're coming into a sense of within yourself. So deep inhale and a deep exhale. And now ask for all of your awareness to come back to you. So your awareness are all those things, the people you've thought about, things that you have experienced, everything that's outside of you. Just call everything that's you back inside of you. And you can use it by using your hand. You can imagine it. You can use your words. Everyone has their own unique technique. And let's honor our unique technique. But the intention is very effective. The intention is to call all of your awareness back to you and back inside of you. And now bring your attention down to the base of your spine. And perhaps you may be sitting down. So if you imagine the base of your spine, it's going to be the formation, and you're going to start to build out a grounding cord. And this grounding cord can be any substance that you want it to be, any substance at all. And imagine this circumference, the width of this grounding cord is wider than the circumference of your hip. The bigger, the better. And as it's drilling through the surface that you're sitting on, imagine the grounding cord start to build out and down, going through the surface you're sitting on, through the floor, and it's going down, reaches the layer of the earth's surface, the beautiful earth, and goes through with welcoming grace. Gaia opens up her grounds and allows your grounding cord to come into this earth. And as it's finding its way with perfect precision, it goes down into the center of the earth where there's this beautiful ball of light. Now imagine locking your grounding cord into that ball of light. And this is the process that we call grounding. So you have one end of your grounding cord locked firmly and securely into the ball of light, and the other one at the base of your spine. And this is the tube that we will use to transmute energies through that are not serving you. And as you are grounded, there is a vortex spinning counterclockwise. And the vortex is coming from way up above, coming down, and it's surrounding you, coming down, surrounding you, surrounding your aura, surrounding your head. Some people imagine this as a series of hula hoops. Some people imagine this just as a funnel cloud, but it's spinning counterclockwise, surrounding your shoulders, your chest, surrounding your hips, your legs, and also surrounds your grounding cord, following that all the way down into that same beautiful ball of light. And the tail end of this funnel cloud locked into that ball of light as well. And this is a great technique for containing those energies that might scatter out of us. This vortex is spinning counterclockwise, and there's actually a vacuuming effect with this. And with this vacuuming effect, it starts to pull away all things that are not ours, not serving us, not for our highest good. Negative emotions are all going down into the ball of light. And this is a great way to contain your energy so that it's not spewed out. It is disposed of responsibly, using your vortex and sending it down into the ball of light. And the whole purpose of that ball of light is it's a transmutation plant. It transmutes lower into higher vibrational essences. And now imagine yourself standing in front of your heart. You're a little person standing in front of your heart. For some of you, this might be a new experience, and for others, this might be a familiar experience. But as you are looking at the front of your heart, you notice there's a little door there. So with delight and glee, That door is there for you, is welcoming you. So go ahead and open up that door, stepping across the threshold, closing the door behind you. This is your sacred heart space. And as you come into your sacred heart space, you recognize the walls are beating in alignment, in coherence with the heartbeat of the universe, the universal heartbeat. And with intention, you can act for coherence so that it is alignment in the same heartbeat. And as you make your way back, I know you want to explore your heart space further. You can always come back to this space, but for now, make your way further back into your heart space and settle into a comfortable space. And now, as you are settling into your comfortable space, I am calling forth the divine conduit of divine unconditional love. And this conduit is coming from above and it's coming down through your crown. It is wider and bigger than all of you, and it's coming down, encapsulating you. You're being held in that magnificent tube of divine unconditional love. Just keep breathing, deep inhales and exhales, and the tube continues on through you, on down into infinity. And now, with this tube of divine unconditional love that you are completely encapsulated in, imagine, if you will, your heart opening up, and your heart is opening up to reveal to you your kindred spirit. This is the source of divine unconditional love. We are all sparks coming from the source of divine unconditional love. We have transitioned to this moment, but we have always brought the spark of divine unconditional love is always within us, and it's in everyone you meet. And as you get to know your divine kindred spirit within, this is your kindred spirit, I'm going to take a moment for silence for you to just introduce and meet your divine kindred spirit. For some of you, this may be a familiar sensation. For others, this may be completely new and not sure what to do with this. So in this moment, you are welcome to open up your eyes, and if you would like a reading about what your kindred spirit wants to know about you, go ahead and raise your hand. And if you're on the Zoom, down at the bottom, you have the option to do a reaction. And with that reaction, you can click on the button that says raise hand. You don't need to show your face, just go ahead and raise your hand. And then I will start to call on you and give a reading. And then we will come back through and we will revisit this group after the reading. So for the first person, Caroline, with your hand raised, I take that as permission to tune in with your higher self and to have your kindred spirit let us know what it wants to know about you, Caroline. So give me a moment. So right away, I'm seeing an image of a paper bag. And it's a paper bag. It's just a brown paper bag, but it keeps rustling. And then it's silent. And then it rustled. Okay, so let me tune in and see more about this paper bag. So this is really interesting. So there's this idea of hiding, using the paper bag to hide, and we hide ourselves. There's that joke about how people will have a paper bag over their face, Or if you have little kids or little animals, they love to play in the paper bag and hide. And then when no one's paying attention, they rustle the bag and like, hey, hey, notice me. And then when we notice them, they hide again. So there's this idea of, I want to be noticed, but I'm afraid to be noticed. I'm afraid to be noticed for who I am and the beautiful light that I am. And so that's okay. Your kindred spirit knows you. Your kindred spirit loves you. And this is exactly a human element. And sometimes in the work that I do, we use a term called persona, where our
No, you froze on both my computers, so
It's
oh,
just you.
oh, it's just me.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
So as long as
good?
Caroline still heard you, that's all that matters. Sorry for the
Yes.
interruption.
Okay. No, this is perfect timing. See, Caroline, you're being noticed. And now it's like, oh, I'm afraid to be noticed, but no, you're being noticed. So, and it's really neat because the personas, when they kick in, a primitive response happens for one of three things. One is either, it's protection, survival, or control. And so sometimes we have that moment, and that's something we can do in a deeper cleansing. It's just an overview communication to have people be aware of this. But there's a persona within you, Caroline, of the one who is afraid to be noticed. And so that is a persona, is the one who is afraid of being judged. And so your kindred spirit wants you to know that with this message, with this paper bag, you have this beautiful light, you are recognized, and there is an issue to work on. And we can do this differently outside of the session, where you would want to clear or observe, why am I afraid of being noticed? And then how do I clear that? And if some people can learn within themselves and be shown on a journey, other people can sign up for a specific technique with that. But your kindred spirit is beautiful, and just want you to know that it doesn't matter. All those human layers, it doesn't matter. Just keep being you. Okay. So now I'm going to go next. Mary. So with your hand raised, I'm taking that as permission to tune in with your higher self. And what does your kindred spirit want to know about you? Want you to know about your kindred spirit. So this is interesting because I was shown a mirror, and the mirror is reflecting. And so it's even showing up in my word coming together. It's like a reflector. So as a mirror, okay, so there's image of a mirror that's coming through. So what you're doing is coming back to you. So your kindred spirit want to reassure you that all the goodness that you're putting out there is coming back to you. So it's an actual physical mirror. And so your kindred spirit is really appreciating that you have been putting goodness out there. It is coming back. There's a feeling of, will I benefit from this? Will I receive the goodness that I put out there? I put my goodness out there for everyone. Will I get that goodness back? And for some of us, we know theoretically, yes, we will get that back, but we have a hard time feeling it or noticing. Okay, was that a good thing? How come this wonderful thing I did for this person and they didn't respond? Or how come I'm not getting it? So there's the feeling of the kindred spirit wanting you to put that mirror down. Just put that mirror down and just allow the goodness to just keep radiating out, because as you radiate out, it circles you. So there's that feeling like a ripple, you just radiate out. So if you can intentionally recognize that, let's not look for what's coming back. And this is the same thing, if we express a negative emotion, it comes back. I'm being told to share a concept with you is if you take your hand and you put your finger out, like I am pointing my finger out, there's 3 fingers pointing back to me. So whatever action you put out, 3 is coming back to your triplicate. So just relax in that. Just keep being the beautiful light you are. Your kindred spirit is there to support you, and recognize it, all the goodness that you are putting out there. Okay, so now I'm going to go next, and I see the hand raised for wild card 99. Okay, tuning in with you with your hand raised, I take as permission to tune in with your higher self. And what does your kindred spirit want you to know about yourself? Okay, so wild card 99. What's coming forth is actually a very beautiful, delicate flower. And so it's this expansive wilderness. So that's what it is. It's a very timid flower. It's coming up, and it's the only flower in this huge space of grass. And this flower is a very rare, I'm seeing it as it's a wild tiger lily. And so it's a little, it's not the big giant lilies, it's a smaller lily, just maybe, real small, but it has the coloring with the orange and the black dot, and it's wild, and but it's the only one. And it's feeling like I need to hide because I'm going to be trampled on because people don't notice it. But then other times people look at it and go, wow. And then they pick it and pluck it and run away with it. And it's one of those flowers that it takes 7 years to grow, if it grows at all. And if you pluck it and pull it out, it won't grow back. So there's this feeling of being taken out. And so your kindred spirit wants you to know it's got you. You won't be officially taken out per se. You have an eternal energy, an eternal essence. And it's showing that the grounding cord technique is actually particularly powerful for you, as well as, shielding yourself with an aura for now. So yeah, it's showing that you're basically it's kind of interesting because you name it wild card. So maybe there's something to that coming through there, but tune in with that. Tune in with your kindred spirit in those moments you feel like you're going to get taken out, or the beautiful uniqueness of you is going to be taken away. Your kindred spirit will help you with that. Okay, so now Casey, I'm going to go to Casey next. So Casey, with your hand raised, using that as permission to tune in to see what your kindred spirit wants you to know about yourself. Casey. Okay, so Casey, I'm seeing a giant clock, and it's a beautiful tall clock. It's one of those big clocks that people would see in a courtyard square, and it's in Roman numerals, so it's an old clock, and it's timeless, but it's not. So it's like it's wavering in between two worlds of the here and now and the timeless realm. And so there's a frustration of having to do everything in time. And I want it to be now. But you recognize there's this layer of timelessness where everything happens in perfect timing. And so there's this element of a little bit of a frustration. So your kindred spirit wants you to just soothe that. Okay, recognize it's a frustration. There's a human aspect, but there is really, and I know you know this, it feels like you know this, there is a timelessness to everything, and it will happen, but there's a part of you, well, when? Well, why not? Well, I'm doing all this work. Well, where is it? When? I keep hearing the when. So your kindred spirit wants you to know that you are actually in the perfect place, perfect timing, and actually there are more doors opening up. And it's really neat. It's just one of those, it's a beautiful, beautiful space to be in right now. And I'm being told to briefly mention it's like being given the keys to a car before you've gotten your driver's license. So what you do with those keys, that's your choice, but that's the feeling that's coming through. So, okay, so I'm going to go next. And so I see the next hand raise is V Jones. V Jones. So with your hand raised, I'm using that as permission to tune in with your kindred spirit and what your kindred spirit wants you to know about it. Wow. So this one is very artistic, very creative. There's this huge wall and it's a canvas and it's already painted, but then there's you coming along and painting on top of it. It's like you're copying, but it's a magnificent masterpiece and you're a creative painter or a creative essence, but you're trying to copy someone else's creativity as your own. So your kindred spirit wants you to know that that is a great way to build confidence, is to emulate or observe or witness or listen to other people's way of doing things. But with that, you do want to have that blank canvas and put your own work out there. And what's coming through is your work may not initially be accepted, but as people observe it, it opens up something within themselves. So your work, if you're a creative person, that's a healing portal. So you're actually creating a healing portal with the creativity. And I just keep seeing it as colors on the wall, like a blank canvas. And I don't know if it's paint or what it is, but you're putting your essence out in a tangible form, but there's a little bit of timidness of it can't be just my essence. It's not enough. I have to copy someone else's. No, you don't have to copy someone else's. You copy yours and you do your own and you expand on your own. And so that's what's coming through is your kindred spirit. And when you feel that uncertainty, connect with your kindred spirit. And right away, I saw an image of a palette of paint and paintbrushes and a palette being handed to you with many colors. So that is what your kindred spirit wants to know about you and how you guys can connect. Okay. So the next person with their hand raised is Rebecca. Rebecca, so with your hand raised, I'm using that as permission and what your kindred spirit wants you to know about yourself. Rebecca. So I'm seeing a bucket. I'm seeing a bucket of water. This is Bev. No, this is Rebecca. Okay, hold on. Let me back up here. Okay, Rebecca, I'm seeing a bucket of water. And what it is, it's like other people are coming and they want to sip. They're looking in your bucket with you and you're looking in your own bucket. But it's almost like, having a bucket of oats and horses are coming to run and stick their heads in your bucket. So no, this is your bucket of water. And so what this bucket is water. There's this idea that water can be used to transmit the idea of emotion. But in this case, it's nourishing. So you are hydrating, but people are coming in and trying to take your bucket. So let's go back. So what this shows is your kindred spirit is helping you with setting boundaries. So your kindred spirit recognizes that you are a beautiful, nourishing fountain of life, water, of nourishment, but people are taking from you. And there's this issue of needing to set boundaries. And so your kindred spirit wants you to call upon it to connect, to create that boundary. And with that boundary, you'll be able to strengthen that. And as you progress with your own healing work, with your own way of being, you'll soon have that stronger boundary where you can choose who you are sharing your bucket of water with. Okay, so make sure you call upon your kindred spirit to just know, hey, I need some reinforcement here, and it's there for you. Okay, so now the next person, Bev. The next person with their hand raised is Bev. And so with your hand raised, I'm using that as permission to tune in to your higher self and what your kindred spirit wants you to know. So with Bev, I'm seeing complete darkness. Okay, so there's comfort in dark, but it's actually a hiding. It's like I don't want to show my true self. And so it's almost like you are someone who moved very well in the dark realm, kind of like an owl. An owl had great night vision, but you don't show that, and you don't want to show yourself. It's darkness of, I don't want people to see my true abilities, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with my own true abilities. Let me tune in. So how did your kindred spirit, so your kindred spirit is showing me a flashlight. So your kindred spirit is saying, I'm here, I can show the light. You actually have the ability to navigate in darkness, and it's a very comforting place. You know, some people talk about we shouldn't be wearing black so much, but for other people, it's a comfort. It's a very comfortable, all is here, and it I don't want to use the word exposed, but I just did. There's something about, it's not a fear of being exposed. It just, there's a comfort here, that nice, warm, comfortable darkness. Like almost like some people are cave people. They love hiding in cave. They love hiding in dark spaces. And that's what is coming through for you. But your kindred spirit is showing that flashlight. And it wants you to call upon your kindred spirit when you need confidence with showing a light, or when you want to learn a new trait within your own surrounding, open up a new area to shine light on something that you may not agree with, that type of darkness. So there's multiple layers of meanings in that one. So I invite you to just connect in, and your kindred spirit will guide you perfectly. And it's nice, we all have free will. You have to verbally ask. You have to specifically ask, hey, please show me the way. Or hey, please turn on the light for clarity. So hope that helps you. Okay, the next person with their hand raised is Marina. So Marina, with your hand raised, I'm using that as permission to tune in with your higher self to see what your kindred spirit wants you to know about yourself and your own abilities and your own kindred spirit connection. So this is pretty cool. So this one is right away I was shown a peppermint stick. So this is familiar. So apparently there's a connection that you have with the kindred spirit that's very familiar, but it's also showing me a peppermint stick. It's those little candies it's like a candy cane, but it's alternating red and white. And then I was shown a barber, like in the United States, a barber, men who cut men's hair, they will have a symbol right outside of the store, and it's red and white spiral going up, and it spins around. So I'm seeing this red and white symbol for you. So there's something significant about the red and white, and it's pleasant, it's welcoming. So your kindred spirit is you have a bit of a playful one. It's so tickled with the way you are so welcoming that you offer a sweet essence. So when people are in your presence, they're picking up that familiar and that sweetness with you. So I'm seeing, I don't know if you have a lot of kids or not, but there's like grandkids or kids in the classroom, but you have this, everyone is coming to you, and when they are in your presence, there's a sweetness to it. So, and your kindred spirit says that you know this and you work with this already. So what is there a message? So the message is to keep going and actually to spread that same essence of who you are with another whole group of people that you've never worked with before. And I'm showing an much older group of people. It's like a type of demographic that you may be intimidated by, but it's just showing you have that. You don't have to do anything different other than just recognize there's a fear of working with a group of people. Just relax that, use that kindred spirit to help show you how to be your usual self with that sweetness, that familiar with younger, with this different demographic, and call on your kindred spirit to connect you, to help you, guide you through those moments. Okay, and then the next person, the last person with their hand raised, and then we will go back into the session and then be open for interaction. So the next person with their hand raised is Samuel. And Samuel, with your hand raised, I recognize that as permission to tune in with your higher self and see what your kindred spirit wants you to know about yourself. So what's coming through? I'm actually getting a lot of tingling. I'm actually getting movement here in this space. So this is amazing. So with you, you are a way shower. And so I want something unique to kindred spirit. So you are a very old soul, been with you for many, many years. And this is the time of transition where, you know, it's showing me how there are times when people are like, when will this happen? When will I get to do this? I'm learning all these techniques. When will I do this? How will this happen? Why can't it happen now? But for some people, it doesn't happen in that lifetime. So you are in this now moment where I don't remember doing all of this prep work before, and now I'm doing this, and it's kind of like, why and why me? And so it's really interesting because earlier we had a reading of someone wondering, it's timeless. When will this happen? And here you're someone that doesn't remember all the previous work you've done in previous lifetime. You're doing this amazing work. You're a way shower, and there's this feeling of, well, I'm not quite there yet. Well, I'm not ready. But obviously you are ready, but there's that human aspect of, well, why me? So your kindred spirit is showing that very wise oracle, like a wizard, like a sage, but in a costume. Like, do I have to be a certain way? Do I have to act a certain way? I'm just going to be me, and this is what's happening. And your kindred spirit loves that you are bringing your uniqueness, your experience, and you actually, it's showing that you actually have a heavier than normal human experience assignment, if you will, in this lifetime. And this is actually combining with your amazing gift of being the way shower, the light shower, the transmitter of communication. So that's what your kindred spirit. So is there a message for your kindred spirit? It's telling you to keep going, keep going. And as all judgments are released, all judgments are going to be released outside of you as well. So this is really interesting. It's kind of like the little kid who goes into the parent closet and tries on the clothes, and the clothes are just way too big, but prancing around like you own those clothes, like those clothes are too small on you, but you're prancing around like, no, they're big. And it's a really neat visual to see. And you are blossoming, and it's magnificent. The transformation that's happening is magnificent. Okay, so I'm checking. There's no more hands raised. So now we're going to come back within each one of ourselves. Come back, closing your eyes and reconnecting with that kindred spirit of yours within you. And your kindred spirit wants you to know that even though these images came through, that's not their permanent structure. If it helps you to visualize or to experience your kindred spirit as a plant, a tree, an image, that's fine. That's for human communication translation, but recognize it's an essence. It's a complete, open, formless essence. And some people experience it as light. Some people may not feel anything, but they just have a knowing. It's there and it's always within you. So allow this recognition and express thanks and gratitude to your kindred spirit for always being there with you, and bringing it back. Now, bringing it back, you are inside your own heart, and you, as the being inside your heart, is coming back inside your heart there. And as it is there within your heart, it is starting to assimilate. Now just keep breathing in this moment. Just keep breathing. The heart healers are coming in and starting to work to help allow that assimilation to come more fully, more embodied within your own heart space. Okay, keep breathing. Okay, so now your kindred spirit is back inside of you. You know how you can revisit your own kindred spirit. And so now we're going to drop the vortex. And as your heart is expanding with this new awareness, this new familiarity, allow the vortex to drop down, dropping it down through the surface, down into the earth. And now the big, beautiful light, this golden light coming from above, coming down and pouring within your entire being and reinforcing the bubble as you in this lifetime, reinforcing your structure, reinforcing your own light structure within yourself. And now the heart healers are continuing to work. And for some of you, I'm being told to imagine breathing through your heart. So imagine your heart as its own set of lungs and just take a big deep breath in and then allow a big breath out and inside your heart space. Okay. And as we drop the vortex and allow the light to come in, I welcome you to come back into this space. I'm still tuned in, but you can come in. And as you are coming back, please move your fingers, move your toes, wiggle your toes, do whatever it is you need to do to open up and stretch your physical body. Because as we bring in light, we need to move and open up to allow the assimilation of the light to come through us and to come within us and be within our human structure. And so now I work with the heart healers. And so Daniel, I'm going to turn to you in this moment. In this moment, you are welcome to open it up for questions, for feedback, or I invite you, if you want to ask the heart healers any questions at all, we're ready to respond. They love being heard, and they
I
are
appreciate
heard
it.
through all of you. Yeah.
Well, let's go to the group first and see what comes from the group before we go to your team. So anybody want to share or ask a question specifically about their experience? And it's okay if you don't, but just an invitation there. Caroline, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much for your beautiful reading. Actually, you told me that I was in a paper bag and I needed to be seen, so I rose my hand. And it's basically more of a comment. I've been getting the same message. It's the third time I got this message in the last month to be myself, show my true self. And I guess it's just a phase right now. Right, it's not my whole life's mission to be myself or show myself. I get the message more like it's a phase or it's something for me now that I need to do, and then I'll have other things to do or other things to work on. Is that correct?
So are you, and I apologize, I want to make sure I heard your question. Are you asking, is there something you need to do now? Or are you saying, is this what I need to do now?
Oh, sorry, I don't express myself that well. Okay, so I'm saying the way I understand it is that showing my true self and being more involved. Well, the way I understand it is I need to be more involved and I need to do the things I feel like doing, but sometimes I just hide because I don't want to show myself. So I guess that is something that I need to do now. That's a message for me now. So it's not a message. It's not like my life's mission is to always, it's not going to be a life mission, right? It's just something that I need to do now.
So that is beautiful what you just said, because in a sense, you answered your own question and you're already connected with the kindred spirit. So help me elaborate. So the part where I need to do things now, but I just don't want to, it wants you to do those things now. So yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the other part of this is what's so brilliant. Sometimes we have this vision of what our life purpose is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
No, your life purpose is living in the moment right now. So whatever activity, even if it's a moment of playfulness or just saying hello to somebody, just a simple act of like saying hi to a complete stranger, that is your purpose. You're in the here and now. Your purpose work is in the here and now. And you never know if that simple hello really opened up that person's heart where they were feeling hidden or unseen or not noticed. And you know what it's like to not be noticed. And just a simple act. So how about allowing the idea of what your purpose life is supposed to be? Let that go. And just do those little activities here and now. Your kindred spirit is guiding you. It's not what you as a human being, I need to do this and this is what it's supposed to look like. No, you're being guided in this moment. And if it's an action like, I need to go to the grocery store to pick up a few things, but I don't feel like going to the store. Oh, who are you going to see there? That's your purpose. So follow through with those little activities, action, and they may lead to something much bigger. But don't look far ahead of what your purpose is supposed to be. Be in the here and now with those little moments, little action steps.
Thank you so much. That's a great reminder. That's actually an epiphany that I just got not too long ago, and I already had forgotten that I need to be in the here and now, and that is my life purpose. So that's a great reminder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something to this conversation, if I may?
Sure, yes.
And this is something that isn't just for you, Caroline, because it's a beautiful reminder for all of us. When you shared what you just shared, what came to me was this really strong message of being yourself is what's going to allow you to then go forward with whatever it is that you're going to be doing, but that's not important. What's important isn't what you're going to be doing. What's important is that you learn to be more of who you are, authentically yourself, recognize yourself, understand yourself. And it is through that process that you're going to open yourself up to be able to do the things that you came here to do, in air quotes, whatever that might mean. But the idea, and exactly what Heidi Sue was talking about, the idea is about being in the moment. And you said it yourself, this is where you are right now. This isn't where you're going to be forever. You're not going to be looking for yourself forever, but this is where you are now. And in doing this step, it's going to open you up for what's to come. And that has yet to be revealed. And that's a beautiful reminder for all of us, because we always get caught up in, what am I going to be doing next? What am I going to be doing next? And, well, right now, do what's in front of you, and the next will reveal itself when the time comes. So beautiful reminder. Thank you, Caroline.
Perfectly put. Thank you, Caroline, for bringing that forward. Thank you, Daniel, because that is the perfect message. And that brought me back to the moment when I got my special gift. It's all about divine unconditional love. And I was not ready for that. No, that's not me. No, not me. No. But I had to take those little baby steps, Thank you,
So
Daniel.
Bev, I noticed that you've got a question in the chat, but before that, let's go to Rebecca. So Rebecca, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for that. I am having a little difficulty understanding, though, about setting boundaries in my life, because I feel like I have really done well at that lately, and I've actually cut a lot of things out of my life in order to maintain boundaries. So I'm just wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more, if you see anything else for me.
Sure. So let me tune in. So yeah, what was coming through is the boundary. So actually, it's something that you can play with because it's showing. Boundary can be any substance, it can be any form, and it can be any area of life. And so what's coming through is there are certain leaks in your boundaries right now, and that part of you actually, after we just had the conversation about not looking forward to your perfect work and what it's supposed to be, what's coming through is that is your purpose in this lifetime. This is your purpose work. Is you actually are working and playing with creating boundaries within yourself, but recognizing it's not just you as a human being, as an empath, as just the boundaries. You are actually a boundary superhero. Boundaries, like you actually create, and you can actually teach people how to create their own boundaries, but you also play with it. And what's coming through is actually you are someone who shows people how to create boundaries, but before you can show people how to create boundaries, you need to play and work with more of your own boundaries. And there are certain areas that your boundary that you do have some leaks, some portals, some areas that it's not as reinforced. So like a diamond. So right away, I just got this image of a stone, but we don't know what the stone is. And until we start carving the stone, then it reveals itself. Oh, it's a diamond. Oh, it's whatever beautiful, brilliant stone it is. So that's what's coming through is boundaries is a huge issue, and it wants you to keep working and playing with it. And there's going to be some more that come through for that. Does any of that resonate? Is that working for
Yes.
you? Okay.
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
It's a lot to think about and process, and I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, and I appreciate your kindred spirit showing you that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Under the conversation of boundaries, something that has really been helpful for me is as I have put myself onto this path, one of the things that constantly I'm told is that I need to let go of my heavy cloaks and my heavy jackets and my armor and all of these boundaries that I've created for myself, the armor that I've placed around myself, that I need to let go of that in order to be able to go forward. And so whenever I hear now boundaries, part of what I really resonate with is, it's something that I learned from Jamie Butler, is that boundaries and shields and barriers in an ideal world for me is more like a filter, as opposed to being a shield or something solid that nothing can get through. It's only blocking out the things that are unwanted, but there's still space within that to allow the things that I do want. And working with Chiara, who was speaker in season 2 in her life alignment process, what came to me was Michael's sword. Michael the Archangel, we were talking about archangels earlier. The idea of a sword, that I can use a sword as a shield. It's flexible, it's movable, it's adaptable, it reaches beyond my physical space. And so now my boundary is a sword and gauntlets that I wear on my forearms, which again are flexible, that I can move and that are attached to me, but it doesn't restrict me or hold me back or limit me. There's a lot of flexibility and movement within my protection, if you will, my shield, my boundary, which is a beautiful metaphor for me to play with within my own experience. And the reason I'm sharing this is just to, again, as you're learning to explore the idea of boundaries within yourself, open that up a little bit more to look at boundaries not in the way that society tells us, which a boundary is a wall or a barrier, but look at it more like a play in different ways in which boundaries can represent themselves in different forms. Some of them solid because they need to be solid, but some of them fluid because they need to be fluid. So play with that. I think that would be really helpful for you in your journey of learning to understand boundaries for yourself and the rest of us.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Very helpful. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Wow.
Yeah. So Before we go to you, V. Jones, Bev had a question. Do our kindred spirits ever reveal themselves, specifically in her case, or is the darkness my kindred spirit?
Okay. We're tuning in with this question. So the kindred spirit does reveal itself, but not in the way that you think. So it's an essence. It just right now it's taken on a form to help communicate with you so that we get it in our language, in our living human life language. So yes, so that moment when I was riding my bicycle and I didn't know what it was, it revealed itself to me, but I didn't know what that was. So the word reveal has a human component of an expectation. And so it's going to reveal itself. It's going to be coming through you. It is different from a guardian angel. It's not a guardian angel. It's not a benevolent being. It's something, it's basically, you were created as a divine spark from the light of source to come individually here. And that is always with you. So it's a divine connection to that source of unconditional love and light and brilliance. And so it will reveal itself in moments, but it's not going to reveal itself in a way that you are expecting it to appear or to look. It's more of an essence. And as far as the darkness, it's not going to always be dark. It's not always a dark thing. It's what it's here now, but it's going to keep going. But you have a gift of working within the darkness, and that'll continue to evolve. Does that help? And
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does. Thank you so much, Heidi Sue.
You're welcome. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that I'll add to this, and again, this isn't specific to Bev's question or to Heidi Sue's answer, but it reminds me of the fact that our guardian angels and our spirit team, our kindred spirits in this case, will reveal themselves in the shape and form that's relevant and appropriate for us in the moment. So the fact that they came forward as darkness today for Bev, it speaks to the message that they are trying to get her to recognize within her own experience. And it's not that they themselves are the darkness, but they're just presenting themselves in that metaphor because that's a metaphor that's really going to resonate, and it's going to speak to what they're asking her to look into within her own experience. And our guides, one thing that I was told about guides a long time ago was they will shapeshift. So they can present themselves as a Looney Tunes character one time that you connect with them, and the next time they're a wizard like Gandalf or something, and the next time it's a mermaid. And so what I was told to notice is not the way that they represent themselves, but the feeling that you have when you're with them, because you will always recognize them. You will always be able to recognize them. There's a feeling that comes with whatever image they present themselves, and you know them to be themselves. Even if you consciously don't recognize it, you do know them. These are people and essences and energies that are so familiar with you. They've been working with you for eons, in both physical form and non-physical form. And so there's a recognition within whatever they present themselves that you can play with, that you can look for. So next time that you get a message from some guide, you can kind of say, hey, is this the same kindred spirit that was playing with me earlier? And you might recognize it as it being the same, and it might not. But that's what I would just kind of add about recognizing our guides and how they present themselves. It varies.
That's great. I mean, I keep coming back to this. First time was in church, and I was by myself, and we were doing the Our Father where you hold somebody's hand. Well, there wasn't anybody on my left side, and I closed my eyes and said the Our Father, and I felt someone was holding my hand at that point. And that was probably my first experience, and probably someone or one of the spirits saying that I'm not alone.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank both people.
V. Jones, on to you.
Okay.
You're still
So
muted.
while B. Joan unmute themselves, Daniel, I just want to say thank you for adding, because you have a way of communicating that even I'm learning in this moment with all of you. So thank you for that, Daniel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Go ahead, B.
B.
Jones.
Hello, my name's Virginia. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Hi,
Hi,
Virginia.
Virginia.
Yes.
And I'm not hiding. I don't have video on my laptop. So I don't want to ask a question in particular because I have lots of questions. I'd prefer maybe you answer the unanswered question, or the question I'd like to ask if I just knew which one to ask, because there's so many out there.
So tell me more about being overwhelmed with so many questions, and where do I begin?
Well, like many people, we go through lots of things. We have things we do, those we care for, and then we lose them. And we so desperately miss them. And we have others that come into our lives. And I would like to be able to connect and believe in all the things that I sometimes hear, like they'll be coming back, that we live these lives that we go through, that there's a purpose, that there's a meaning. And I know there is, and I try to help other people, and I see the world as it is. And I know why we are where we are. And I'm sometimes not sure the best way to, I'm not sure what's next for me to do. There's so many options you can do.
So are you someone that has a good sense of direction in the human form? Like when you're out driving or walking, do you have a good sense of direction?
I walk a lot. I drive to get to where I'd like to walk. When I walk in force. I never get lost. I walk with my animals. I walk with people I know, or I walk by myself. And I'm comfortable in that. I love being out with the moon and the stars. And I live very much though in a city that never leaves you alone. And when you most need those quiet moments, unfortunately, there's too much going on in a world that really needs to live in balance.
So the reason why I ask those questions is I'm getting a sense what's coming in is the feeling of being lost and the feeling of lost. Like, where do I go? Which way do I turn? But you're not lost. And just so there's actually a persona coming through is the one who is lost. And I don't mean lost in the sense of I'm not found. I mean it in the sense of I'm going somewhere, there's a destination and I can't find my destination, that kind of lost. Daniel, is something coming through for you? Did you want to say something to this before I keep going?
Before I say my thing, I would love to get Virginia's response to what you said, if that resonates with her.
Well, I'm not sure what the direction is. I have a very diverse background. I have done a lot of things. I see things and I know the reason why we are experiencing what we are. And so I reach out and I help whenever I can. I recently ran in a municipal election for that purpose. And so many things go on. So I'm not sure of the direction that is the one that I don't know the question to ask. I always have lots and lots of questions and lots of answers, but I don't want to limit myself by a question that's not the right question.
So
Sometimes we need to listen, and the person that has hopefully the answers, like the kindred spirits, the soulmates, the ones that were so much of a blessing, and you did everything that you believed was the right things to try to protect them. And you had this feeling at one time, you knew everything you need to know. And then everything collapses and you realize we really can't protect ourselves at sometimes.
So here's what I would like to add to this conversation. And again, this isn't specific to you, Virginia. It's again, a reminder for all of us, because it's, again, fascinating how this has been playing out today, these are just beautiful reminders for us all to kind of reconnect with. There are times in our journey when we don't know what to do and where to go next. And earlier in the conversation, I forget if it was Shannon or Anna Maria or both, in day one, they were talking about how in a spiritual journey, I think it was Anna Maria that brought it up, in a spiritual journey, we eventually get to a point where, or inevitably we get to a point where we kind of lose our way. It's like, I could do this before and I could do this before, but now I can't. And she brought this up as a reminder that during these moments when we kind of lose our gifts, it's a process of downloading new skills, new understanding, new awareness. And we need that kind of downtime to allow ourselves to grow into what we're becoming. And that's what came to me as you were speaking. It seems to me, and I can be completely wrong, but the impression that I get is that there's nothing wrong with not knowing what's next. Do what feels right for you to do in the moment, and everything else will come in its path. It'll become clear. And when it becomes clear, beautiful. Until that point, just, be comfortable in the nothingness, be comfortable in the space, in this break, in this moment to slow down and listen, observe, as opposed to what we all do, which is act. Sometimes we're kind of forced into, well, I don't know where to go. How can I act if I don't know what to do? And sometimes those moments are reminders for us to slow down and just observe and listen and settle. Let the noise settle so that you can have clarity, and that clarity will reveal itself. You will know what to do when the time comes. We all will know what to do when the time comes. If we don't know what to do, it's because the time hasn't come yet. And we just don't trust that. And we want to know. And why don't we know? As opposed to saying, hey, you know what? If I don't know, it's because I don't know. And that's okay too. And I know that when it's time for me to know, my wisdom, my higher self, God will reveal it to me. And that's just a reminder for all of us in our path and in our journey. And I don't know if this is helpful for you, but that's what came to me to share.
And I would love to add to that as well. So we want to be careful that we're not paralyzed and that we don't take that one step forward. And, I know all of us have heard that a beautiful journey begins with that one step. So even if you are moving forward, okay, I have to act for the sake of acting, just do something. How many times have we all know of experiences within ourselves, or we see it in other people, that when they take a path and it's the wrong path, they get a lot of clues to come back. So there's this idea of, it's okay if you don't know what to do, where to go, just go ahead and take that step, because it's always going to take you down to the path. Because even if you're going in this one direction and your purpose or your higher sense wants you to go this other direction, they will always provide options for you to come back. And that's when you tune in with yourself. Oh, okay, so this is what I should be doing. So the actual moving, even if you don't know what it is I'm supposed to be doing, the moving is powerful. And I love the way Daniel put it. It's okay if we don't know, because once we start in that process, the clarity comes, that communication, that feeling, your kindred spirit, your guide, whatever you are open to receiving communication from and with, you're always, and that's the thing, you're never alone. Even when you feel lost and confused, just feeling separate, feeling alone. You're not. It's just not recognizing this internal support you already have within you. And many of us know that in theory, but how many of us take the time to spend time with them internally and have these conversations with them? Have that connection with your own kindred spirit. Okay, please present me with an opportunity that you'd like me to do today. Or how may I be of service today? I always wake up with this idea, okay, I do my morning rituals and prayers, and I've gotten to the point where I do the prayers while I'm still asleep. Last thing I do before I go to sleep. First thing I do when I'm in that semi-waking up state is, please use me as your divine tool. How may I be of service today? And boom, the opportunity arises even when I'm not recognizing that this is the opportunity. So I hope that both of us help you, me, Joan, Virginia. I hope that helps. And I hope that helped with everyone.
Are kindred spirits, soulmates, guardian angels all the same thing? And is there any particular message? And will I see them again?
So my initial response is they are not the same thing. And yes, you can actually perceive them. Kindred spirit is you yourself, that you are a divine spark from the initial source of creation. That is my definition in this session right now, how I described kindred spirit. And when I tuned in with my team, the heart healers, I even asked, people are going to have different interpretations of the word kindred. How do I communicate that? Well, here you are. You are the one that's bringing this up to light. So thank you for that question. Guardian angels are different. Daniel, anyone else want to contribute to that? To me, they are distinctly different. Kindred spirit is in with yourself. I know there's a whole other conversation about soul spirit, soul connection, soul mate, kindred spark, that your twin flames is another one I've heard. That's a whole nother conversation. And I'm actually not well versed in those.
One of the things that we can very easily fall into is the trap of trying to label and understand via labels. Recognizing that for me, a guardian angel is different than what a guardian angel means to you is part of that. But there's another element where within this community, there's a lot of talk of, you use the term, what is it, twin flame? I've heard twin flames being used in like 80 different ways by 80 different people. And they're all describing twin flame means this and twin flame means this. And then the next person you talk to is saying something that twin flame means this. And it's got nothing to do with the last person was saying twin flames are. And these are channeled messages or messages from spirit, or they'll say, oh, my spirit team told me that this is what this means. And so this is what this means. And I always kind of take all of that with a grain of salt. Because what's really important here to kind of focus on is there's an aspect of our team, and I refer to my spirit team collectively, including my higher self and all of the entities that work with me in this human form. Within that array of entities that are working with me, Heidi Sue is identifying one aspect of that as my kindred spirit. And so as my kindred spirit, what does that want to come forward? In my definition, that's one of my guides. But in her definition, it's different than a guide because she defines guides differently. So be very careful with not only trying to look for definitions of what these words mean from other people, but also getting really caught up in the labels of what they are. I mean, whether this is a guide or whether it's my kindred spirit could very well be one of my many what's the word, soulmates. My kindred spirit in this lifetime could be a soulmate in another lifetime. And again, how I define soulmate will vary from conversation to conversation. So will we encounter them again? Absolutely. Will we encounter them in this lifetime? Constantly. Will we recognize them in this lifetime? Maybe. Some of us much more so than others. But the more we are open to that connection, the more we're open to that communication, the easier it is for us to experience them at that level in this form. But for me, my kindred spirit is one of my guides. Absolutely. Is it my primary guide? No. Is it my senior guide? No. Is it one of my council members? No. This is my language. This is the way that I've created my structure. and it's my structure. And structure is something that spirit will constantly say, don't think about the structure because you will never understand it from a human perspective. But I love structure. And so I look for the structure. I look for models and ways of understanding the way things work so that I can understand them. But I also remind myself not to get caught up in thinking, oh, this is the way it is, because it's not. It's just the way that I'm creating it so that I can understand it for myself. And that will change moment by moment, day by day. As I get a new insight of something, Heidi Sue says something about something, and I say, oh, I never thought about guides in that way. That's kind of cool. Yeah, all right. I can add that into my model. Or Heidi Sue says something that really doesn't resonate with me, and I'm like, nope, that's not in my model. That's in her model. That's perfectly fine. So very long kind of discussion for your question, Virginia, but hopefully that's helpful.
As a communication person, I understand that words are very limiting, and I see it all the time. We all have our impression of what a word is, and somebody will tell you what you're feeling based on their limitations or their experiences. So many times we have to leave the words behind because they're based on our time, our place, our knowledge. We live in a diverse world where we have all different languages, our demographics, our age, and everything else. What I bigger question would be is if there is a message that is meant to be the message for me, potentially, without me limiting it to a word. Because so many times people will tell you, oh, you're feeling this, you're feeling that, and they've got it totally wrong because they have not lived my diverse, very wide experiences.
Sure.
So while Daniel was talking, I had this image come through, and it's just something that I don't normally share publicly, but I will share it. Sometime we encounter another human being, and I had the moment of, it was just an acquaintance. I'm a hugger, so with strangers, just handshake, elbow, however we greet people. And I had a moment where it was just an initial greeting and it's a hug, and my physical sensation just completely lit up, and it was like, whoa, what was that? And there's that human tendency, like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be with. And no, in the societal context, that is not who I'm supposed to be with. And that's when I had to realize, okay, so sometimes as a human being, we will interpret the message that we get from other realms as to, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do with it. This is how I'm supposed to be. And we're supposed to be together. This is our relationship. We're meant to be. Why isn't that person responding? Whereas it was just a message of something that we may not understand that happened on another level. And so I share that as an option, that maybe it's one of those moments that trying to find an understanding as to why this human interaction was the way it was, and why does it have to keep going, or why is it not keep going when it feels like it should keep going. It's the same thing. It's what Daniel speaks about. We all have the use of the same language, same words in different meaning based on our own context, based on our own experiences, and based on our own world.
So one thing that I'll add to this, Virginia, is two things. Let me back up. Two things that I'd like to add to this. A number of times in communicating with spirit through channels, I get the response that the quality of the answer is going to be dependent on the quality of the question. And they bring this up whenever I say, just tell me something that would be useful for me to hear. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. You need to tell us, you need to ask us what it is that you want to know, because in doing so, we'll be able to actually give you an accurate answer. Now, if you ever listen to me communicate with spirit, you will hear me ask generalized questions. Is there a message for us to know from you? Is there a general message? And a lot of times they will share a general message, but sometimes they say, ask me a specific question.
So let me try a specific question then, in a way. Too many times I see out there, I'm not somebody that's scared of things, but I see something that I consider very scary. And that is the level of cognitive failure that's going on, and the level of seeing people that are so much on drugs that they've destroyed themselves. And every time they see them, they destroy a bit of us, because we tend to tune it out in a way. I don't tune out. And so I go to do something and I see too much of it out there. Maybe I just feel in a way. Maybe the reason for a number of years I felt it is because I'm trained as an operations analysis officer, and I don't get out of my home before I see all this going on. And therefore, you can't shut yourself down, because if you shut yourself down, you're not open to the experience. Does that make sense in a way?
It does, but what's the question?
Well, you said about the quality of the question. Sometimes the question is between the lines, and it's like maybe the answer. How do we deal? What
What's
is
the question?
causing all this cognitive failure, and what is the reason to? How can I protect some of the people that are out there? Or when you see in seniors, when you see in young people, so much cognitive failure going on that it is causing us so much damage as a world. And these are our leaders, these are our friends, and they're getting abused as a result too. How do we help them?
Heidi Sue, do you want to
That's
take
the
that?
question. I can't really give you the question because it's
That's
just
the question.
overwhelming at a time that there is so much out there. Am I feeling too much because I'm open to it, because I'm empathic or something? Or is it just that it is so much there that we need to change the direction and go back to the basics? I'm not sure.
So thank you for that opportunity, Daniel. So what's coming through is there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and there could be multiple reasons. So just because the question was so vague, there's so many different answers coming in, so many different answers. And those answers can be generalized or can be specific to that situation. So you are obviously in a position where there's something about this that is teaching you in your own involvement, your own self-development. You're obviously intuitive, but not all of the intuitives are structured in a way that there's still some of the muscles not working as well, or still need training, still need practice. I don't mean not working well, but still need practice, still need training. Now, you are in a situation where you are witnessing, and I hear you use the phrase cognitive failure, and I'm thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? So I don't want you to answer that now. That's something to contemplate on. But for me, I'm going to contemplate on that. What does that mean? But a lot of people are hurting. They're wounded. They're feeling a sense of dissatisfaction. They've never experienced their own heart, or they've never allowed you have the ability to see people through the eyes of love. But a lot of times people won't see themselves through those same eyes. That's the spirit, that's the world. Is like this source of, we don't make junk. There's no junk out there. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a reason. Everyone has free will. And sometimes you have to allow them the free will, because that is part of their experience. And how many of us had to have the experience, as unpleasant as it may be, that we can turn around and teach from that experience and help resonate with someone, make a connection elsewhere. So it's almost like you're trying to, there's a feeling of, okay, it's all over the place. I want the world to stop hurting, because there's a lot of the hurt within you that you want to release. And if everybody else would just release it and just stop and just be smart, or be conscious in a sea of unconsciousness, then everything's okay with you. But that's not how we are supposed to operate. Here we go, labeling. I sense that our journey is unique to every one of us, is to learn how to work within our own container. There's a lot of technique, embracing boundaries, cleansing, clearing, clarity, open declares, scanning, if is this the right step I should take? Should I scan? Is this for my highest good, or should I wait? Those are all techniques, and we're all here to learn those. But uniquely enough, all of us are in an experience because at some level We have created to be in this experience in order to evolve ourselves and learn from it and move forward. And we often reflect what's in us. And once we clear what's in us out, then we won't be that match, that vibrational match. All over the board, I know, but how is that?
I appreciate and understand what you're saying. And perhaps I'm somebody that realizes we are very complex. And one of the things with people is we need to trust in that it's really very simple and we make it complex. Our
Can
bodies are one of the most intuitive things that are out there if we stopped interfering. But too many times when you actually need that one that doesn't have, that has that a little bit more knowledge than you, and you reach out and it's a vet or it's a doctor and they destroy your world because they're just mere mortals. And you couldn't get the one that was the right one, but you got the one with the communication problem, the cognitive problem, the only thing that was open when the whole world was closed down. Sometimes if we could just get the right one.
I'm glad you're here in this group. I'm glad we're all here in this group together, because there's similar-minded, similar beings of more light. We are working on creating our light and enhancing our light.
I'm going to attempt to share something, and I might miss the mark completely. There's so much that came to mind as you were speaking. Your point of view, perspective, the way that you're experiencing life at the moment. Things came to me as you said something came to me, you said something else came to me. And there's so much to kind of get into everything that you've shared. I mean, we've already kind of exceeded the hour and a half mark. It's the last session of the day, so I'm okay going a little bit further, but there's so much that you've brought up that we could dig into and have hour-long conversations on just one aspect of that. One of the things that I mentioned, and I didn't really mention it very well, I think it was in my session where I talked about how when I was little, I used to talk about how I would want all of humanity to disappear off the face of the earth. And the reason that I felt that way was because I could see what the potential is of humans, and all I saw around me was not that. And the reason that that affected me so much is because I saw the potential of humans. And that's why everything that I saw around me, the hatred, the disgust, the mistreatment of themselves and of others and of the planet, and I mean, I can go on and on and on, it got to me at a very profound level. And so for me, it was, if I had one wish, what would it be? Just wipe off humanity off the face of the earth. Now, here's the thing. Some of us that are on this journey and on this path to help the world evolve and to help the world shift from where we have been to where we are going, are coming into this environment with that knowledge already embedded into our being, into our awareness, into our existence. And because we have that knowledge of what we can be and what we will be, where we are feels so painful. It feels so wrong. It feels so hurtful because we have the empathy of ourselves and others, and we see the mistreatment and say, oh my God, how could you? How can you? Part of our journey, we were talking about being bridges from where we were to where we're going. Many of us on this call, many of the people that are going to listen to this podcast or this event or whatever it is that you want to call this thing, is likely on that path where they themselves are bridges in their own right and in their own way. Some people are going to develop a skill set that helps themselves and others to create boundaries that are health and safety and sustainable and useful, as opposed to the boundaries that were created 1,000 years ago, which was killing, power, neglect, abuse. Those were boundaries. And so we're in a process where the definition of boundary is shifting. And for those of us that can see where we are going, or what's capable and possible for us, it's really hard to kind of look at all of the chaos that's currently around. Now, just last week, with one of the people in my membership group, they brought up the question of, we seem to be going backwards. You know, Daniel, you talk about where we're going, and that's really lovely and, you know, fluffy and flowers and butterflies and rainbows, but we seem to be going backwards. And my response to him was, and again, this is information that I'm relaying from channels that I listen to and what resonates with me, but all of the things that have been causing our old way of working to function in the background, the way that it was functioning, need to be brought up to the surface so that they can be released, resolved, and the light can be shown on them. And so we're in this process where the old way of working is being revealed. And in that reveal, we're seeing the ugliness, the dirtiness, the grit, the grime, all of the things that have in many ways influenced the way that we perceived life 100 years ago. And I'm using that just as an example. It could have been 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but that aspect of revealing the things that are hidden so that they can get resolved and improved upon. What I recommended to my friend, or this individual, was, when you see all of that happening around you, think about how much better things are going to be when, by having that experience happen, it gets exposed. And imagine that exposure shining light on it, revealing it, addressing it, and shifting it, and transmuting it into the way of working in which we are moving into. So when we see all of this darkness, instead of saying, oh, everything is dark and everything is horrible, it's, well, yeah, we're actually living in a place where the light is shining so much brighter that these things are becoming obvious. They're coming up to the surface so much easier. They're no longer hidden underneath 18 million cracks and 18 million layers in some deep, dark down basement. It's like the light is so strong that it's shining through those cracks so that we can actually see them 1,000 feet down and say, holy shit, this is really horrible. Yeah, but that's because the light is so bright right now that we can actually see them, and we can recognize them and shift them within ourselves and in others. And one last thing that I will say is, we cannot be affected by anything or anybody else. No one can destroy us. Nothing can devastate us and ruin our lives. Only we have that power. And unfortunately, our society hasn't taught us that. Our society hasn't taught us, what role do we play in the creation of our experience? What are the elements at play in the system of life? How do I interact with those elements in order to form and create my reality as I experience it and as it happens to me? Because nobody wants to be told that, you know, you're experiencing cancer because you brought it on yourself. Nobody wants to hear that. But when you start looking at our journey in the spiritual world, we start to see that that's actually what we end up doing innocently, but that's what we end up doing. Because of the way that we think, because of the way that we perceive life, we are innocently throwing out that vibration to the universe, and the universe is saying, okay, well, that's a vibration you want to play with. Well, let me give you more of that. And no one taught us that. People talk about the law of attraction. I've heard the law of attraction since I was a kid, and I always went, that's bullshit. It doesn't resonate with me.
So many times people want to talk about, nobody taught me that. but you're supposed to teach yourself. And we have a wealth of experience out there, but we never seem to learn from it. And then we erase it, then we tear it down, but you never bother to look for it. We live in a very overstimulated time with more and more and more options to see bigger all around the world, but it's too big. And really, we have all the answers. We've lived all this before if you actually look at history and you learn from it. So maybe we're not meant to learn from it because we're no different now than we were 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And we
I
all
would
have the
let me
capacity for it.
let me interrupt you right there. That is not a true statement at all. We are very different than we were 1,000 years ago. We were very different than we are five years ago. There's always people that are going to, at least at this point in our evolution, where we are right now on Earth, there are still people that are hurtful and harmful and are playing from that space. Now, you wanted to look at the simplicity of our experience. Every single person on this planet is responding to the thinking they believe to be real in the moment.
And the message is being sent to them.
Regardless of what the message is being sent, the way that they interpret it has to do with them. You can send me all the messages you want, but what matters is how I interpret it. And then because I am paying attention to the thinking that I believe to be real, I'm going to respond to the reality of that thinking. That thinking could be real or it could be completely fictitious and completely false. And time again, we're reminded of situations where the same exact stimulus happens across many people, and those many people each have a very different response. The stimulus is not the cause of the response. It's the interpretation of the stimulus that causes the response. And we each have our own interpretation based on our beliefs, our ideas, our energies, our upbringing, you can go into the whole complexity of the models that go into how I interpret things. But let's go back to simplicity. Every single human being is innocently responding to the thinking they believe to be real in the moment. If I think that you're a threat to me, I'm going to respond to you very differently than if I think that you are a friend. You haven't changed. Now, here's another variable to it. My state of mind will influence how I interpret life. So if I am in a low state of mind, your actions are going to be interpreted more as a threat than if I'm in a high state of mind, if I'm in a good mood, if I'm playful and loving and compassionate in my understanding, and you're a horrible person to me, I'm going to brush that off and say, oh, that's not me. They're just having a bad day. And if I'm having a bad day and you're a horrible person to me, I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to get angry and you're abusive and you're threatening and, and I'm going to get defensive. Your actions were exactly the same. The variable is whether or not I'm in a good mood or a bad mood.
Quite understood, because that's what you're doing now. And I could play it differently and I could have you react differently. And I can see Heidi's going to say something as well, too, because she's getting a different feeling from it.
Well, I actually, so is that okay, Daniel?
Please, yeah,
okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I actually was, thank you for bringing that up, Virginia. So how many times have someone who has fallen in love with another human being or really appreciate or really love that other human being, but that we witnessed that human being doing self-sabotaging action. And so many of us, there's some of us who have relationships where we're so in love with the other person because we can see their potential. And if they would just, rise to their potential, but they keep choosing to do action that self-sabotages them or hurtful action back to us. This is a lot of times, let's say I'm in love with someone and I saw the beauty of his heart, but he keeps beating me up, or he keeps hurting me, or he keeps saying hateful words to me. And I still stay in that relationship because I'm in love with the potential. I'm in love with the potential. So everyone has that free will to make their own choices. And so They make their own choices if they want to go down a different path to bring more light into their own being and not be as hateful or hurtful or wounded or lashing out. And it's really interesting because we also have our choice. Do I want to stay with that person with the way I'm being treated? Am I going to hang in there because eventually they will heal, they will see what I see in them? Or am I going to stay in this situation and work with someone who doesn't want to make the effort to heal, to learn, to be open to how I can teach? Are they going to be open or not? Or should I take the teaching and my gift and my own presence of the light of love that I am and share it with someone else who's in the dark, but is more open to receiving because they are choosing to want to learn how to make a difference within themselves and within their own environment.
Thank you for sharing.
So thank you for bringing these questions up, Virginia. Sorry if it feels like we haven't quite landed on what you were looking for, but hopefully there's something in what either of us have said that helped you in some way, shape, or form. Best I got for you.
Well, you know, sometimes it's just there is a message coming from whatever larger being is out there that is also within ourselves as well too. And we maybe haven't heard because we live in a time where there's just sometimes too much going on and we have to protect ourselves in some ways.
Yeah, and you've brought that question up a couple of times. If there's a message from a larger being, both Heidi, Sue, and I have just given you maybe half an hour of messages. Have any of those landed for you? Could any of those answers been the answer to your question of, is there a message? Because neither Heidi or I are playing with, to some degree, yeah, we're consciously answering your question, but we're also feeling into the energy of the group and our spirit guides and our teams and the divine energy of life. And what's coming to us to say is driven by the answer to your question. Like, I can start channeling right now if you want, and have some entity come forward and they're going to say something to you, which may be exactly what I just said to you 10 minutes ago, or Heidi Sue said to you 30 minutes ago. I mean, it's kind of this idea of the quality of the answer is going to be dependent on the quality of the question. And if we're given a broad question of, is there a message? Well, yeah, there's a message. You've just been given maybe 15 different messages in the last half hour. Now, if that's not the message you want to hear, well, then that's different because that's not the question you're asking.
I get all the messages that came because I also realize they are the messages as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm being compelled to bring up the piece of what I do is also forgiveness prayers. So I do a lot of work with the forgiveness prayers. And it wasn't until I started doing the forgiveness prayers quietly within myself that I had to realize, oh my gosh, this is something that I need to work on in myself while I'm working on changing my environment. But those forgiveness prayers work on both within ourselves as well as our environment. So there's this whole element of seeking out the forgiveness and learning to do the forgiveness prayers. And there's a very specific way that I can actually teach if you wanted to do a private session that we can just do remote forgiveness prayers to help shift a lot of this, what is happening in your environment right now. And I just throw that out as an option.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else, and again, for everybody that's listening, and I know this is a really long recording, guys, but I still haven't felt like it's appropriate to end the call, and so I haven't. But something else that I wanted to share based on something that you brought up, Virginia, is, and I always butcher this, and I'm still learning this myself, so please bear with what I'm about to say. There's two parts to it. The first one is, we don't know what the other person's journey is. And when we try and make judgments about their journey, have it be right or wrong, we're the ones that suffer. When we try and impose our ideas on someone else's journey, we're the ones that suffer. And I'm learning that myself. And the other thing that I'm also learning myself is when I come across situations where I see someone that needs my protection, needs my help, or I want to help them, I want to protect them, I want to interfere in their life in some way, shape, or form because I know better. What's actually best for me to do is to take some breaths, take 3 deep breaths. I love the number 3. Take 3 deep breaths, settle into my own power, and just send them love with no expectation, with no judgment, with no nothing. Just love them, send them love. Compassion, understanding, forgiveness is all based on love. And their higher self will take that loving energy and utilize it in whatever way, shape, or form is best for them to figure out. So if I want to help my sister or my mother deal with the crap that they regularly throw at me, instead of me judging them and talking about how they need to do things differently or whatever, it's, you know what? They've got their journey, I've got mine. I can only take care of myself. Now, as horrible as the world is around me, I know, and I know this for a fact, I can feel it in the depth of my soul, that if I can allow myself to be in a good place, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, then the world around me gets improved. And I might not be able to notice the difference, but I can only influence myself. I can change the world, and I do change the world. And Spirit will tell this all the time. When you improve the quality of your own life, your ripple is extending out beyond this world, this solar system, this galaxy, this universe, and into other dimensions. It influences and impacts all of universal consciousness. So when you allow yourself to shift your perspective from a place of resistance to a place of openness and alignment, that shift, however small that shift is, has just influenced all of universal consciousness. So every single one of us is important. Every single one of us is valuable. Every single one of us matters. And every single one of us can change this world because we do so every moment. When we improve ourselves, we improve the world. We just don't see that change.
I realized that a long, long time ago, and I agree totally.
Yeah.
Way back when I was a child.
That's beautiful. I didn't realize that until just recently. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful to know. And the other thing that someone earlier in the day talked about karma. I don't remember if it was you, Heidi Sue, or someone else that talked about karma. But for me, one of the messages that I loved about karma was karma is a human made up idea. Karma is instant. If you wanted to define karma, the moment that you allow yourself to be in a place of love and acceptance and joy, you are influencing the 10,000 people in your energy field. And they might have a better day and a better experience, and they will never know that it's because of you. And if you get hurtful and judgmental and critical about yourself, you're influencing the 10,000 people that are around you. And they might not know that their low quality of mood was because they picked up on your field.
I try to, in all my responses and when I'm out there, give off the positive, because I also know that what comes back to you is very much like a mirror reflection. Sometimes it would be nice, though, not to have to be, and just to be able to be.
But here's the beauty of it. What you just asked for, you're the one that can give yourself that permission. You can just be. You don't have to keep on doing. You have that permission to give yourself, if that's what you want, then take that time. Do that for yourself. there's a lot of confusion in our own spiritual journey. That confusion is a good thing. The skepticism that a lot of people talk about, I always talk about skepticism as a good thing. Confusion is a good thing. Confusion means that you're shifting. Confusion means that you're allowing yourself to go into a space of learning that is beyond what you currently knew before. Otherwise, you wouldn't be confused. Oh, I just don't get that. When you're confused, it's because you're in that space where this is what I knew and this is what I'm going to know, and I'm kind of in that middle space. That's a beautiful space to be. And I know that there's a lot that's been said to you, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you brought this up, because everything that I have shared and everything that Heidi Sue has shared in the last 45 minutes is powerful information for anybody to listen to in their own lives.
Thank you, Daniel. I don't want you to look at a clock and think you keep on having to respond to something that sometimes doesn't need a response, and all you have to do is listen, because all I want to know is if there was a message out there. I also get it like you, and I feel it all the time, and I do step back and I try to, as you said, give out what is the positive, because what we get back will often be based on what we give. And I think that we're all going through a lot, or I know we're all going through a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings and we need to be kind. And sometimes that kindness is just walking away.
So here's the answer to your question, my dear Virginia. And this isn't coming from me. You can tell from the emotion that I'm feeling as I say this. The answer to your question is to love yourself. That's the answer to your question. And that wasn't from me. I can sit with where that came from to see if it was my team or your team, or if it was my guide or your guide or some collective, or if it was Jesus, or if it was Archangel Michael, or I don't know who it was, but that wasn't me that answered your question when you just said that. What is the question from a higher source? Love yourself. That's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing all of this up.
Thank you both.
So Heidi Sue, thank you so much for all of the time and your willingness to continue on with this call. I'm normally really good at ending the calls after 90 minutes, but again, this just didn't feel right to end. So hopefully those of you that have listened to this recording, and for those of you that have stayed with us all this time, thank you so much for being with us. Hopefully this conversation that Virginia brought up has been helpful for you on your journey as well. So Heidi Sue, can we talk about how people can work with you?
Sure, we can do that. But first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everyone who has listened to this, who's been here, who's listening to the replay, and for all the messages that came through. And every single one of us contributed to this moment. Every single one of us, and every piece has been very valuable. And it's just an honor for me to be here with you to witness the light of the heart opening up even more open than they ever been before. So thank you for that. You are welcome to connect with me. I do have a special offering, and the special offering is a 3-part series. It's called the Heart Space Expression Exploration, and there's an initial one-on-one. You and I would connect one-on-one, whether over the phone or Zoom, however you want to do it. It's a recorded session where I go into more detail doing a reading on your heart space, and then we close out that session. And after that, I transcribe and write even more messages that come from your heart to you. So, and a lot of times it's almost like you're receiving a love letter from you to you from your own heart. Your heart has been living with you all this time. Your heart has been experiencing what you've been experiencing. So your heart knows more about you than you might know about yourself. So you get this print document that is a love letter from your heart to you, what you need to know. And then during those live sessions, a number will come to me. And what those numbers are is how many days consecutively that I do a series of, they're called radiant heart brightening, but at the core content of them are the forgiveness prayers. And the forgiveness prayers work on the here and now, through your lineage, through all your timeline, and through just whatever your heart guides me to help release whatever is stuck, needs to be brought light to, what needs to be forgiveness, and all of those wonderful things. And so that's the offer. It is priced at Canadian dollars, but I will honor US dollars at 66. And then also, if whatever country you're from, you can take your choice of $88 or 66. That's fine. The way to get a hold of me is on there. And I would like to open the floor to Samuel, because I recognized Samuel wanted to say something was coming forth, and it had something to do with forgiveness. Is this okay, Daniel, for Samuel to contribute?
Of course, I was just going to bring him on after you're finished talking about how people can work with you. And so before we bring Samuel onto the floor, so to speak, as always, if you go to the website, the description of Heidi Sue's offering is in the offer invitation, I call it, special invitation. And there's also a link to connect with her to her website or to her email. I forget what we put there. So there's a way for you to connect with her directly through the website. So Samuel, go ahead, my friend.
Hello, yes. Heidi's already brought this forward with the forgiveness rituals already, I think. And so she's already answered this question, I think. But predominantly for Virginia, she was asking you, and you were answering a question, Daniel and Heidi, very well at the same time. But I was getting message more along the lines of, for simplicity, Virginia, maybe this is just a suggestion, start seeing it as what is the mental cognition, what you were bringing forward, what you were seeing out in the world, as you are, yes, an empath. And this is why your sensitivities are so brought on by this. I was hearing as well, as you said, was asking your question, but to also ask the question, what is the lessons being taught by these individuals, and what other perspectives can you then also bring into the lessons that they are teaching you? And can you forgive yourself when they are bringing forward these lessons, to see the love that's actually being brought forward instead of the emotion that's being washed over you at the present moment? I know it's hard to do so, but that is a strong suggestion that I was hearing. What is the lessons being offered there? And can you forgive in the moment and be grateful for those lessons being offered?
One of the things that I was exposed to that really made a difference for me was to ask the question, why is this happening for me? Not to me.
Exactly.
But for me. And within that kind of same conversation is recognizing that I created that experience because of some reason. And what is that reason? And we can look at it from that perspective as well. But without getting too complex with that whole description, I love the idea of, why is this happening for me?
And I guess the simplicity, like I've already stated, of what is the lesson that I am learning from this experience, instead of, oh, I'm feeling angry at this person because they've done this to me, is instead of of course, let the emotion rush over you, but then ask the question, well, what did that person teach me? What did that lesson, did I learn that lesson, or is that lesson having to be relearned again and again? And is that why I can't find the forgiveness within myself to forgive that person as well? For they are being a reflection of my own message that I'm not learning, lessons that I'm not learning. Just a suggestion, Virginia. Hope that
Very
makes it a bit
interesting.
more simpler for you. And thank you, Heidi. Very
Yes.
insightful. And Daniel too.
Thank you. And Virginia, I had learned, I love that question, why is this happening for me? Life happened for me. I had also added an element of, okay, what is the lesson? What is the blessing? And I know in some of those moments, I don't understand. I can't even find, I have a challenge to find that blessing. And it's like, really? So maybe adding the element, not only what is the lesson, what is my role, why is this happening for me? What is my lesson? What is the blessing? And sometimes the blessing is the fact that you're here, you're now, and you're giving an opportunity, because that's really how strong you are spiritually, and that's how you bring light and healing into the world around you. But what is the blessing as well as what is the lesson?
It's a good way to look at it when you see all these things happen, and the blessing is sometimes that you've learned from it and you just try to be kind and see that others can avoid it, but it's their choice.
And sometimes the blessing is just being able to recognize it, to recognize the
surviving it.
importance of that.
Which is what I kind of tried to say.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. I love that.
Sometimes you just see it in an instant.
And sometimes you don't, and that's okay too. Yeah, so anyway, so Virginia, thank you again for bringing all of this up and inspiring us to share so much information with you that hopefully has been helpful for people that are listening and for yourself as well. Heidi Sue, thank you for being part of this project.
Thank you.
Honored to have you here. I reluctantly want to end this conversation, but it's almost time. So thank you guys all for sticking out with us. Again, hopefully, I know that this has been a long recording, but hopefully there's been a lot of value in all of the different stages of the conversation. And we have another day tomorrow of more conversations to play with. So Kate is going to be launching us tomorrow. She is going to do some trans channeling for us. And so until tomorrow, or until next time that you join us, I will leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love. Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.